The Ancient Book of Enoch, Part 1, End Time Outline. Chapter 1, The Time of Destruction. These are the words of the blessing of Enoch, to bless the elect and righteous who will be living in the day of tribulation, when all the wicked and godless will be destroyed. God opened the eyes of the righteous Enoch, so that the angels could show him a vision of the Holy One in the heavens. From them I understood that the vision I saw was not for my generation, but for a far distant one. On the account of the elect, the great Holy One, the God of the world, will come forth from his dwelling and tread upon the earth, appearing with his host in the strength of his might from the heavens. All will be afraid, and the watchers will tremble. Great fear and trembling will seize everyone all over the whole earth. The high mountains will be shaken, and the high hills will be brought low, melting like wax in a flame. The earth will be torn apart, and life on earth will perish. All men will be judged. However, he will make peace with them, protecting the elect and showing the righteous the mercy, for they all belong to God, and will prosper and be blessed when they see him at his appearing. Behold, he comes with 10,000s of his holy ones to execute judgment upon all, to destroy all the ungodly, to convict all flesh of all the works of their ungodliness, which they have ungodly committed, and of all the harsh things which ungodly sinners have spoken against him. Chapter 2. Observe nature. Observe how the stars in heaven do not change orbit, but follow the proper paths, rising and setting in their proper time, without transgressing the commands they have received. Observe the earth. Everything comes and goes in its season. Nothing changes. Summer is followed by winter again and again. The sun dries and the clouds dew, and rains replenish the whole earth. Chapter 3. Observe how every autumn the leaves change color and fall, then are made anew in the spring, except 14 trees, which do not lose their leaves yearly, but their leaves remain 2 or 3 years until the new leaves come. Chapter 4. Every summer you shelter yourself from the sun's heat, because the rocks get so hot you cannot walk barefoot on them. Chapter 5. The trees sprout leaves and fruit every spring. Do you not understand that he who lives forever made these things for you? All his works continue from year to year forever. They do not change. All of his tasks are accomplished because he has ordained them so. Observe how the sea and rivers accomplish their purpose. They do not turn away from the paths that he has commanded them. But you do not patiently endure trials, nor obey the commandments of the Lord. Instead, you have turned away and spoken great and swelling words with your impure mouths against his majesty. You hard-hearted ones will find no peace. Your days will be shortened and your lives cursed. You will die and spend eternity in hell. You will not obtain the mercy. In those days you will give up your peace, and not only the righteous, but the sinners and ungodly will curse you. Salvation will be for the elect, but not for the sinners. But the elect will inherit the earth with light, joy, and peace. Then wisdom will be given to the elect, and they will live eternally and never sin again through ungodliness and pride. They will be humble and prudent. They will not die in the time of wrath when their number is complete, but instead live in peace with the number of their years multiplied eternally. Part 2. The Watchers. Chapter 6. The Descent of the 200 Angels. It came to pass in those days that the children of men multiplied, and beautiful and fair daughters were born unto them. The angels, the sons of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men, and beget children. And their leader Semyaza said to them, I am afraid that you will not truly agree to do this deed, and I alone will have to pay the penalty of this great sin. They all answered him, saying, We should all swear to bind ourselves by a mutual oath not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. So all together they bound themselves by an oath. There were 200 total that descended in the days of Jared upon Ardis, the summit of Mount Hermon. They called it Mount Hermon because they had sworn and bound themselves by oath upon it. These are the names of their leaders: Semyaza, their leader, Arakibal, Ramil, Akibil, Tamiel, Ramuel, Danel, Ezekiel, Barakel, Asael, Armaros, Batral, Ananel, Zavebe, Samsapiel, Satarel, Turel, Yomiel, and Sariel. These leaders led the rest of the 200 angels. Chapter 7. Giants born. Each of the 200 chose a wife for himself, and they began to go in unto them, and to mate with them. and they taught them sorcery and enchantments, and the cutting of roots, and made them acquainted with plants. These women became pregnant and gave birth to great giants, whose height reached up to 3,000 ells. These giants consumed all the food, and when men could no longer sustain them, the giants turned against them and devoured mankind. They also began to sin against birds and beasts and reptiles and fish, and to devour one another's flesh and drink the blood. Then the earth laid accusation against the lawless ones. Chapter 8. Forbidden Teachings. Azazel taught men to make swords, knives, shields, and armor from the metals of the earth. He taught the women how to see behind them, how to make bracelets, ornaments, and other kinds of jewelry, using precious stones and the beautifying of the eyes with makeup of various colors. This led them astray into fornication and ungodliness, and they became corrupt in all their ways. Semyaza taught enchantments and root cuttings. Armaros taught how to resolve enchantments. Barakel taught astrology. Kokabel taught the constellations. Temel taught the knowledge of the clouds. Asrodel taught the courses of the moon. As mankind began to perish, they cried out to heaven. Chapter 9. Holy angels asked God to intervene. Then Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel looked down from heaven and saw all the bloodshed upon the earth by the extreme lawlessness. They said one to another, "The earth is laid waste, and the voice of all the dead cries up to the gate of heaven. The souls of men cry out to the holy ones of heaven, saying, 'Bring our cause before the Most High.' They said to the Lord, the King, Lord of lords, God of gods, and King of kings, the throne of your glory endures throughout all the ages, and your name is holy, glorious, and blessed unto all the ages. You have made all things, and have power over all things, and you see all things. Nothing is hidden from you. You see what Azazel has done, teaching unrighteousness on earth, and revealing the eternal secrets concealed in heaven. Semyaza and those he has authority over have taught sorcery, and they have defiled themselves by sleeping with the daughters of men, and revealed to those women these kinds of sins. These women have begotten giants, and by their children the whole earth has been filled with blood and unrighteousness. Now the souls of the dead are crying out to the gates of heaven because of the lawlessness which has taken place on the earth. Chapter 10. God passes judgment. Then the Most High, the Great and Holy One, said to Uriel, "Go to the son of Lamech and tell him in my name, hide thyself. Reveal to him the judgment that is approaching, that all life will be destroyed by a flood of water that will cover the entire earth. Instruct him how he may escape, and his seed may be preserved throughout all the generations of the world." The Lord said to Raphael, "Bind Azazel hand and foot, and cast him into the darkness. Make an opening in the desert which is in Dudael, and bind him there. And place upon him rough and jagged rocks, and cover him with darkness, and let him abide there forever, and cover his face that he may not see light. And on the day of the great judgment he will be cast into the fire. And heal the earth which the angels have corrupted, and proclaim the healing of the earth, that I will heal it, so that not all the children of men perish through all the secret things that the watchers have disclosed and have taught their sons. The whole earth has been corrupted through the works that were taught by Azazel, so ascribe all these sins to him." The Lord said to Gabriel, "Proceed against the bastards, the reprobates, against the children of fornication. Destroy the children of fornication and the children of the watchers from amongst men. Cause them to go forth against one another, that they may destroy each other in battle, for they will not have long life. Grant no request that their fathers may make to you on behalf of their children, for they hope to live an eternal life, but none of them will live past 500 years. The Lord said to Michael, "Go, tell Semyaza and his associates who have defiled themselves by marrying women, that they and all those they contaminated will be destroyed. When they have seen their sons slay one another and all their loved ones destroyed, bind them for 70 generations under the valleys of the earth, until the day of their judgment and of their end, till their last judgment be past for all eternity. In those days they will be led off to the fiery abyss, to the torment and the prison in which they will be confined forever. And whosoever was condemned and destroyed will from thenceforth be bound together with them to the end of all generations. Destroy all the spirits of the reprobate and the children of the watchers, because they have oppressed mankind. Destroy all wrong from the face of the earth, and let every evil work come to an end. And let the plant of righteousness and truth appear, and it will prove a blessing. The works of righteousness will be planted in truth and joy forevermore. Then will all the righteous escape, and lived till they could beget 1,000 children. All the days of their youth and old age will they complete in peace. Then will the whole earth be tilled in righteousness, and will all be planted with trees and be full of blessing. All desirable trees will be planted on it, and they will plant vines on it, and the vine which they plant will yield wine in abundance, and each seed which is sown will bear 1,000, and each measure of olives will yield 10 presses of oil. Cleanse the earth from all oppression, unrighteousness, sin, godlessness, and all the uncleanness that is wrought upon the earth, destroy from off the earth. Then all the children of men will become righteous, and all nations will worship me, and will praise me, and all will worship me. And the earth will be cleansed from all defilement, sin, punishment, and from all torment. I will never again send a flood of water upon it from generation to generation forever. Chapter 11. In those days I will open the store chambers of blessing which are in the heavens, and send them down upon the earth over the work and labor of the children of men. And truth and peace will be associated together throughout all the days of the world and throughout all the generations of men. Chapter 12. Enoch to testify to the angels. Enoch was hidden before all this came to pass. No one knew where he was or what he was doing. At this time his activities were with the watchers, and his days were spent with the holy ones. I, Enoch, was blessing the Lord, the King of the world, and suddenly the watchers called to me, saying, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go to the fallen watchers who have left the high heaven, the holy eternal place, and have defiled themselves with women, and have done as the children of earth do, and have taken unto themselves wives and greatly corrupted themselves on the earth. Tell them that they will not have peace nor forgiveness of sin, for they will not delight in their children. They will witness the slaughter of their beloved ones, and will weep over the destruction of their children, and even if they petition for all eternity, they will not obtain mercy or peace. Chapter 13. Enoch's testimony to the angels. Enoch went and said, Azazel, you will not have peace. A severe sentence has gone forth against you, and he will put you in bonds. Your actions will not be tolerated, nor will mercy be granted to you, because of your oppression and all the abuse, godlessness, and sin which you have taught to men. Then I went and spoke to them all together, and they were all afraid, and seized with fear and trembling. They asked me to petition the Lord for them for forgiveness, because from this point on they could not speak with the Lord, nor lift up their eyes toward heaven, ashamed on account of the shame of their sins for which they were condemned. So I did as they asked, and took their petition in regard to their individual deeds, forgiveness, and peace. And I went off and sat down at the waters of Dan, in the land of Dan, which is south of the land west of Mount Hermon. I then fell asleep and dreamed about their chastisement, and heard a voice instructing me to tell it to the sons of heaven, and reprimand them. And when I awoke, I came unto them, and they were all sitting gathered together, weeping in Abelsiel, which is between Lebanon and Senneser, with their faces covered. I recounted before them the dream, and I spoke words of righteousness and reprimanded the fallen watchers. Chapter 14. Judgment is final. This is the record of the words of righteousness, and of the reprimand of the eternal watchers I was commanded to give by the Holy Great One in that vision. I will now relate what I saw in my dream with my tongue of flesh and the breath of my mouth, that you may understand with your whole heart. Just as he created man with the power of understanding the word of wisdom, he has created me and given me the power to reprimand the watchers, the children of heaven. I wrote out your petition, but in my vision I saw that your petition will not be granted unto you throughout all the days of eternity. Your judgment is final. The decree is, from this point on, you will be bound on earth throughout all the days of the world. You will not be able to re-enter heaven. But before you are bound, you will see all your loved ones destroyed. You will not be able to possess them. You will only be able to watch them fall by the sword. Your petition on their behalf, or for yourselves, will not be granted, even though you weep and pray. This I have written. This was the vision that was shown to me. A mist enveloped me, and a wind lifted me up to the clouds of heaven. I saw the stars and lightnings. Then I was lifted up to heaven, where I saw a wall made of crystals, surrounded by tongues of fire that frightened me. But I went through the tongues of fire and came to the crystal house. The walls and floor were made of interlaid crystals. The ceiling was clear like water, but made up of swirling stars and lightnings with fiery cherubim in the midst of it. A flaming fire surrounded the walls, and its door blazed with fire. When I entered into that house, it was as hot as fire and as cold as ice. It was empty, and there was nothing delightful in it, not even a trace of life. I was so afraid, I fell on my face and saw another vision. There appeared a second house, greater than the first, and all of its doors stood open before me, and it was built of flames of fire. And in every respect it so excelled in splendor and magnificence to the extent that I cannot describe it to you. And its floor was of fire, and above it were lightnings in the path of the stars, and its ceiling also was flaming fire. Inside was a lofty throne made of hoarfrost with wheels shining as bright as the sun, and I heard the voices of the cherubim. Streams of flaming fire flowed from underneath the throne so brightly I could not look directly at them. The great Lord sat upon this throne, and his raiment was brighter than the sun and was whiter than any snow. None of the angels could enter or could behold his face by reason of the magnificence and glory, and no flesh could behold him. The flaming fire was all around him, and a great fire stood before him, and none could come close to him. 10,000 times 10,000 stood before him, yet he needed no counselor. And the most holy ones who were around him never departed from him day or night. Until then I had a veil on my face, trembling, and the Lord called me with his own voice and said to me, "Come here, Enoch, and hear my word." And one of the holy ones came to me and lifted me up to the door, and I bowed my face downwards. Chapter 15. The Judgment of the Ancient of Days. He said, "Fear not, Enoch, righteous man and scribe of righteousness. Go, say to the watchers of heaven, who have sent you to intercede for them, you should intercede for men, and not men for you. Why have you left the eternal heaven and lain with women, and defiled yourselves with the daughters of men by taking them as wives, like the children of earth do, and begotten giants as your sons? Although you were holy, spiritual, living in eternal life, you have defiled yourselves with the blood of women, and have begotten children with the blood of flesh, and have lusted after flesh and blood as the children of men do who die and perish. This is why I gave them wives, that they might beget children by them, so that nothing might be wanting to them on earth. But you were formerly spiritual, immortal for all generations of the world, which is why I did not appoint wives for you, for spiritual beings have heaven as their dwelling. My judgment for the giants is that since they are born from flesh, they will be called evil spirits, and will remain on the earth. Because they were created from above, from the holy watchers, at death their spirits will come forth from their bodies and dwell on the earth. They will be called evil spirits. The heavenly spirits will dwell in heaven, but the terrestrial spirits who were born on earth will dwell on earth. The evil spirits of the giants will be like clouds. They will afflict, corrupt, tempt, battle, work destruction on the earth, and do evil. They will not eat nor drink, but be invisible. They will rise up against the children of men and against the women, because they have proceeded from them. Chapter 16. When the giants die and their spirits leave their bodies, their flesh will decay without judgment. In this way, the race will cease to exist until the great judgment, in which the age will be wholly consummated over the watchers and the godless. Now tell the fallen watchers who have sent you to intercede for them, you were in heaven, but did not learn all the mysteries, just the worthless ones. And these, in your hard-heartedness, you have taught to the women, and through these mysteries women and men produced much evil on earth. Therefore tell them, you will not obtain peace,